Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and yes, we educate you. I'll tell you, I'm very excited. I got a dear friend of mine, dear brother, very successful entrepreneur. And, you know, my definition of success is this, is that anybody that can stay in business longer than 5 years, you're a success. But not only is he a success because he's made it past the 5-year mark, he's a success because he's a success. He has a loving heart. He cares for Jesus and he cares for his clients. I'm honored to have my dear friend, my dear brother, great human being, Kris Gieske. Welcome, brother, to the show. How you doing, my brother? You doing good?
Hey, doing great, man. I'll give you that $20 for that wonderful intro.
Well, man, I'm pumped up. I was really looking forward to our time today on the episode. And man, I know the beautiful person you are. Take a moment and introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please.
Yeah, well, my name's Kris Gieske. I'm a strength conditioning coach and now published author in a new book, which is really cool. The Brain Changer. I have a new chapter in there. Been working at this. There it is, the Brain Changer. And then I've been working at my profession for over 11 years. Started when I first got out of the military. I was in the Army, was in OIF from 08 to 10, which is Operation Iraqi Freedom, as a tanker there. Kind of got broken myself, and then started fixing myself with a lot of workout techniques, dealing with the nervous system, joint mobility. And then from there, I started helping other veterans. And then from there, I went on to go work out with active release techniques. So they had a little clinic, right? Active release, which is a technique used all over the world. Got to work with a lot of high profile athletes there to help rehab them. A lot of car crash stuff, helped a lot of those people out, especially the concussion work, teaching them how to move and get back in shape, dealing with a lot of, body compensations that were happening due to brain injury.
Yeah.
And helping them just get better, feel better, move better, perform better.
But let me ask you this, because right now, right, where your episode is gonna air here in this new year. We're right at the 2025 line. How did having a broken body, to say, right, whether it's a broken bone or an injury, how does that affect the mentality of a person? What did you encounter in that? Because I remember when I was running back in 2020, and it was a freak accident, rolled my ankle, fell into a trash can. Then I ended up not even be able to walk. I had a scooter. Like, it was mentally tough. I think it was mentally tougher than what the actual, even though I was in a lot of pain. What goes through someone that you've seen in the mental aspect? Because I want to talk about just the mental fortitude of overcoming an injury. Because I think when you overcome an injury, you can overcome hard things in your life and you can overcome hard things in your business.
Yeah, it overall makes you more resilient. But it's been shown, even in brain studies, brain MRIs, of how chronic pain can actually affect how your brain actually functions, right? So when your brain starts to function differently, you're in chronic pain all the time, you start to get more depressed, you start to get more angry, you have outbursts, all kinds of different things. It depends on the severity of the injury, of course. But if we're talking about chronic, which is basically longer than 6 months and you've been dealing with it and it's been aggravating you, I'll get people that come in, they're super depressed, especially if they've been to PT and they've been doing a lot of things and nothing's really helped them yet. And then they come to me and I give them a little bit of a different way to train, different approach. Everything I do in the clinic is pain-free. So I never take them into that chronic pain. I get them just on the edge of it, right before it starts to hurt, right? So if it's a range of motion, say it's like a wrist injury and it hurts when they get to here, right? So I'll start to strengthening it just a little less, right? And then their brain goes, yeah, that's okay. Now I can give them a little bit more, right? And I can add to that resistance. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, they're out of that chronic pain and they feel a lot better, you
So,
know?
but how does someone come over the? Let's talk about the mental aspect of it. Like, say,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Like,
someone's come to you, like they're hurt, right? I mean, people they get bruised, they get bumped. But let's talk about how does someone give us like two or three steps that someone can take mentally, the mental fortitude to overcome that. Like you said, the resilience, because a lot of people, I see a lot of people that they tolerate the pain.
mhm.
And if you're tolerating the pain in your body, in body injury, whether it's through workouts or like yourself, we have a lot of military people that watch our episode too. Well, they're tolerating other stuff in their life. So how does someone push through to really come and build that mental resilience, like you're saying? That's the word you use. I
Well, I
said
mean, it's just kind of how we talked about before, right? Is you have to start getting some success, right? You have to start small. Like when somebody comes in and they're like, and they have chronic pain and they want to get to the top of the tree like tomorrow. I'm like, that might not be success right now, right? That's unrealistic success. You have to start with goal building. So it's like,
Mhm.
let's start with that low hanging fruit first. Let's, let's go back to the wrist analogy, right? Say it hurts when I get here, right? But if it still hurts when I get here, but we get that range of motion and it's a little less pain, that's a little bit of success, right? So once you start building on those small successes, then all of a sudden you start to get motivated to go further, right? Because every drill, everything I give them has to have saliency, right? And saliency just means it has to mean something to you.
Mm.
So if it doesn't mean anything to you, there's drills I can give you that you're not going to do.
Okay, this is where it's gonna get good, ladies and gentlemen. So you know what we say here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Get out your pen, get out your paper, because Chris is about to drop some massive wisdom right now. Because he said a word I've never even heard of. Remember, you're gonna take down the notes. You're gonna go
Right.
back and you're gonna study your notes that you write down, and then you're gonna listen to this episode again. So what is? So I love what you said. So there has to be meaning. So what? So
Mhm.
well, let me ask this question then. So what you're saying is, if there's no meaning behind the recovery, then people ain't gonna recover.
Exactly.
That
Right.
was that what I heard you say?
Yep. If there's no meaning behind it, you're not going to recover. Right. If there's even, it even goes down, I can break it even down even further. Right. So if I give you a specific drill and it does not mean anything to you, you will not do it.
Mhm.
Right. If you don't see a change, there's no meaning behind what you're doing. So there always has to be a purpose. Right. And it can even go down to, why are you trying to get better? Let's break it down even further. Why are you trying to get better? Why do you want to recover? Right? Is there kids that you want to like be around and hang out and be able to wrestle with them on the ground? Is there, your job? Do you give purpose to other people, right, in their life? If you're not functioning at your best, there is no way that you can 100% give your best to somebody else.
Ooh, say that again. I love that. That was good. That's a quote right there here.
So if you're not feeling your best, there is no way you're going to give yourself to somebody else your best, right? So they're not going to get your best out of you if you don't give your best to yourself.
So when we're talking about saliency, what are great saliency anchors? I guess if that's such a phrase, right? So
Yeah.
what have you used in providing that? Because I love what we're talking about. Because I think right there has to be a purpose to business too. Because if you tie what you do
Mhm.
in recovering from an injured body into what we do as entrepreneurs, I see a lot of entrepreneurs that are doing something that don't have no meaning to them.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
doing it because of XYZ instead of the real motive, and there's no purpose behind it for them. Saliency, like you said. Give us an
Yeah.
example.
So an example for me was, I know what it's like to be broken, right? I know what it's like to not be able to bend over and touch my knees at 26 years old and go, man, I'm 26. Why can I not move? Why am I in pain? Right. And then all of a sudden, when I went to different people who coached me and taught me different ways to train, and all of a sudden I can start moving, I can start feeling better. All of a sudden, that gave me meaning and purpose to what I'm doing to help other people, right? So I bring that into my practice and then in my gym every single day, to be like, hey, you're in chronic pain. I've been there too. Let's get some steps to get you in less pain,
Wow. 20,
right?
26 years old?
Yeah, I was 26. Yeah, when I was getting out of the military, I believe I was 26, maybe I was 28, something like that. Let me see here. So it was 08 to
Yeah.
10. So I got out in 11. So let me see here. I was 24, 25, 26, 27, about 28 years old. Yeah, I could barely move.
So what have you learned, right? Because now everything you've learned, not only do you do body rehabilitation and you help people, but how has what you learned through your experiences at 26, 28, not being able to walk, learning about saliency for yourself, how has that helped you become a successful business owner now?
Because it's made me care about what I do a little bit deeper than somebody else who's never been there. Right.
Mm,
It so my heart now is to help people get better because I have been there. Right.
yeah.
I've been in those stages where I couldn't get off the couch for, a week hardly and be able to move, across the room to go, make it some dinner or whatever, right? So when you've been in those places, you've walked in those shoes, you go, I know what that's like, and I want to really help you and help you move a little bit better. And and as you said before, right? When you go through things, it makes you more resilient, right? So when you're more resilient, so when business got hard, right? which it did a lot. There was some times where I was like, man, maybe I should go and just do insurance or something. Not like that's easy or anything like that, but it's
I would
like,
say that's harder, brother.
yeah, it's probably harder, right? But it just
Uh,
there's so many times where it's like, man, there's no money in this. It's really hard, and if that's my main focus was just the money, I would never get to where I am now. I would never work with the people that I've got to work with that I've been so blessed to have in my life. The mentors and people that surround me now is just outstanding.
so you left the military, you bounced back emotionally, physically, mentally. What would you say to someone right now, right? Right now, this your episode is going to air first week of January 2025. Speak to that person right now, Kris, if you don't mind. They had big ambition in the beginning of 2024. They were pumped up, and then boom, they got punched in the face in life, and they got punched in the face for business. And
Yeah,
they're where you're at. They were where you were at. Like I love what you said, right? They were there. Should I go do insurance or should I do something else? There's
yeah.
people listening to this and watching it right now, and they're thinking that. Talk to that person and give them a word of encouragement if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, you have to look back why you started, right? And that's really what's got to be your anchor point, as you talked about earlier, right? Look at your successes with people, right? Another thing that I wish I would have did a lot more was to keep thank you cards for people that I've helped because I had a ton of them, and I wish I would have kept a lot more of them, right? But when you look at those successes, right, and you look back and you look and see at the times that you thought, man, I'm not going to make it through this month, right? And then you look back and you go, well, I made it through that month. I can make it to another month, right? I can make it through another day, right? And that's kind of how you got through. And this really helped me through the military is when I was in, Iraq, right? You just take it day by day, mission by mission, right? You just go, okay, let's get through this one. Let's get through this one. Let's get through this day. Let's get through this day. And then you start building, right? And you start stacking those wins. You have to look at the wins because it's so easy to be negative. Your brain is hardwired to look at the negative, and too many people can fall into that mentality of looking at everything that's going wrong instead of things that are also going right.
Are you an aspiring speaker? Do you have a book that you've been wanting to write for months, maybe even years? Or are you an aspiring podcaster? You want to start that podcast like the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and don't know where to start? Well, at Daniel Gomez Enterprises, we can help you do all three. We can help you become that paid speaker, share your story to the world, write your book, and get your podcast launched and help you produce it. We'd love to help you. Give us a call at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. We can help you become that paid speaker, write that book, and launch your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call now. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Kris just said. your brain is hardwired to look at the negative because that's the way society is here in America. Focus on the good, focus on the small wins, like he said. Actually, write down this question right now. What am I focusing on? What am I focusing on? And be honest with yourself. Write this question down. What did I focus on in 2024 that didn't help me, right? What did I focus on in 2024 that hindered me? Write that
Mhm.
question down. What did I focus on in 2024 that didn't help me? And then another question to write down is what did I focus on in 2024 that hindered me? And I love what you said, Kris, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of business owners, they focus on the bad, they focus on what's not right. And we went through a major, my ambition for 2024 was humongous. I invested thousands into a new office, invested thousands into new computers, new equipment. We were hiring people, and then it turns out that not everybody has your best interest. Right? You would hope they have your best interest, but then you find out that sometimes there's people around you that they. I don't think they do it intentionally because I think as people go on a journey, that they
Mhm.
discover themselves too, and then they discover like, man, why have my own self interest? I don't have Daniel's self interest, so you got to make changes. And I'll tell you because I used to be scared of change. Right, I used to see change as a negative, and
Mhm.
something that I really worked on for myself was in the millionaire mind is change is good. And
Mhm.
no one loves to, right? I mean, I've been to where I've had 100 employees. I've been blessed to run multi-million-dollar organizations. And now with our organization, as we're growing and scaling, like I realize you have to hire people that have the best interest of the organization.
Oh, without doubt.
And I say that because during October, we did some changes, and it was hard because it's like you find yourself looking at this beautiful office, and you're like, okay, now I need the people again. And it's easy. The old Daniel would have been like, man, you know what? Like, why did I even do this? It was not, no, you know what? No, like, you know what? The huge wins for us were now we're on direct deposit, right? Like, I'm excited. Like, if I had a big win for my business, it's like, it wasn't even the office. It's like, we got direct deposit, baby. But I say that because of what you said. It's easy to focus on the negativity
Mhm.
and then focusing on the win. So, ladies and gentlemen, what did you win at in 2024? Write that down. Like, get out a
Yeah.
piece of paper and write that down. Like you said, stack the wins, right? When you go back and say, write this down, get a sheet of paper, right? Get a sheet of paper like this, and then write down, right? Write down wins of 2024, and you're going to be like, man, I won more than I realized.
Mhm.
Do you realize? I mean, because I love what you said earlier. You said, right? You have to go goals, small goals. How important is it to have goals in the beginning of this year of 2025 to really help you get to where you want to be, Kris?
Yeah, I mean it's massively important, right? You have to, I mean, and sometimes it's not even written down goals that you might have, but all of a sudden you hit a number and you go, I never expected to hit that. So write that down, right? So as soon as you get a massive win, and it might not have been a goal that you had written down, right? But you might hit it. So another goal, right? A good goal is to give yourself, push yourself a little bit each month and give yourself a number that you want to hit, right? And even if you fall short, you might still be, pretty dang close to that goal. And that's going to help give you a little bit more momentum going into the next month, right? Because you might write down a number that never expect to hit, and all of a sudden you get close to it. And now that gives you reason to go in the next month a little bit more motivated, a little more excited. And then, like what Daniel said, write down what you did wrong, write down what you did right, so that way it gives you that momentum, right? Momentum is the key driver to excellence.
Ooh, say that again. That was a good one.
Momentum is the key driver to excellence, right? So you start getting motivated, right? Kind of how I wrote down. So I'll give you a little bit in the book that I wrote down. Part of was loving yourself is keeping promises to yourself, right? If you like building momentum, say I'm going to get up tomorrow at 6 and I'm going to work out before I hit my clients, right? You wake up at 6, you keep that promise to yourself. Doesn't matter really what you did in the gym that day, especially if you're first starting, right? As long as you're there, you're getting things done. All of a sudden, that starts to rewire your brain a little bit and go, you know what? I can now have more confidence because I'm keeping promises to myself, right? Because if you don't keep promises to yourself, you're not going to keep promises to anybody else.
And
It's
that
going
is
to be
true.
very
I
hard.
got to say that's true. You know why? Because I've kept a promise to myself that I wasn't going to drink for 6 months, right? Me and a friend were having a conversation, and me and you have had talked about this off the show, and I'm 6 weeks, no alcohol, no wine, and not that I
All
was
right.
drinking, but like I would, I would, I would like to cope on wine, just put it that way, right? And
Hmm.
not in access, but it was hindering me. And then the glass of wine leads to a margarita. And here in San Antonio, we have Mexican restaurants on every single corner. So margaritas are like a Diet Coke, right? They're a dime a dozen around us here.
Easy, right? And good ones too.
But it's habit. It's habit when you go there and you don't even. And next thing you know, you're drinking a margarita. So you're right because I can honestly say, like, I feel great about myself because I kept the promise that,
Yeah.
first of all, you came down to the Millionaire Mind Boot Camp, and I'm like, crap. Not that you came down, but man, we have our mixer. Everybody's having a good time. I go, and I had to overcome that lie in my mind was,
Hmm.
you can't have a good time without drinking. And
Hmm.
I've shown myself, Kris, that I can have a great time without drinking. And
Hmm.
then another biggie comes up, right? Thanksgiving. Well, then now it's like, man, am I gonna have a glass of wine with my meal? Like no wine on Thanksgiving. And then
Hmm.
right, Christmas is here. So today's Christmas Eve, and it's like, no, but I don't have a desire. Like the desires, but I'm more happy. I'm celebrating the fact that I kept a
Hmm.
promise to myself, and now it gives me confidence that I can keep other promises to myself.
And it went even deeper than that lie, right? Because in those moments, I remember talking to you off script as you're like, man, I'm worried I'm not going to be as fun if I'm not drinking. And
Yeah.
then Tito came to you and was like, hey, man, what are you drinking? Because he's like, you're more fun when you're sober than when you're drinking. But it's those little lies that we get caught up in, right? It's those little things that tell us, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Because that's really going to hinder this or that. But if you just listen to yourself, the promises that you kept, and now you're like excited and you're going, oh my gosh, man, I feel so good. And you probably have thoughts that are going through your head that probably wouldn't be going through your head if you'd been still drinking a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, right? It's still something that hinders you. Like if you're drinking the day before, like a couple glasses or whatever, the next day you're still a little bit foggy, right? You're not 100%. So when you go stack those days, right, and all of a sudden you're going, man, I feel sharper, I feel cleaner, and you build those habits and those wins. That's the momentum I'm talking about.
Bro, this is the first New Year's Eve I've gone and worked out. Like, and I truly believe it's because I didn't have a glass of wine last. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what I want to say, and right, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just saying this is for me. Like we're talking about keeping promises to yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
and because God has been putting this on my heart to drink less, and not that I was drinking a lot. I'm going to iterate that again. Not I wasn't drinking liquor bottles over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I would cope with wine instead of talking to God. But by what you just said, it's like this is the first Christmas Eve I've actually worked out, and it's because I was in bed by 9 o'clock last night. Like
Right.
I'm up with the chickens now. And
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, I want you to write this down because Kris said something that was powerful. Write this down right now. What lie are you believing is truth?
Mm-hmm.
What lie, what limited belief are you believing is truth? And how did it hinder you in 2024? How did
Yeah.
it hinder your life? How did it hinder your business? I like the way you said that, right? Because it's lies that we believe. Like I had a lie that I couldn't have a good time without drinking. And like you said, Tito's like, what are you drinking? I'm like, Diet Coke, bro. He's like, no, really. I'm like, bro, it's Diet Coke. Like, it's really Diet
That's
Coke.
funny. No, really, what are you drinking? Because you're way more fun right now.
So what is when you came down to San Antonio, you came to the Millionaire Mind Boot Camp.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you really took away that when you left in November that really kind of just like what was an aha moment for you that you'd like to share with the audience here today?
I mean, like I said, you could call it the millionaire mindset or you could call it the winner's mindset, right? Because that's where it all starts. It all starts with good habits, right? Having good mindsets, having good practices, um, talking to yourself a little better. And another big takeaway was comparison, right? Because comparison is the killer of your dreams. And I write about that a little bit, right? I would sit there and I would look at other coaches and I go, man, I'm never going to be at that level, right? Or they're so far ahead of me, I'll never catch that person, right? And at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. What matters is my progress every single day, every single week, every single month. and not looking out at the huge coaches that are working with several thousand athletes per month, right? That's not who I should be comparing myself. I should be comparing myself to how I was yesterday or last week, right? And go, which ways am I moving forward and which ways have hindered me? Just like you said, write down your wins, write down what didn't work, and then compare yourself to that instead of what's going on outside your bubble.
As you're saying this, I truly believe that most people, they don't even realize when they're comparing themselves, because sometimes comparison can look cynical. Let me explain. We'll just say you see somebody else winning, and instead of celebrating them, you didn't celebrate them in 2024. Now you're being critical of them, right? You're being critical. Oh, well, yeah, they
Yeah.
just got lucky, or well, look at Daniel, look at Chris, and what you're doing is you're comparing yourself. So since because you feel inferior, since there's right what I talk about in the makings of a mind, right? You have a poor self image of yourself, and then you
Mm-hmm.
see Chris winning at a higher level, like whatever, like so that's a form of
Right.
comparison, and you don't even realize it. So write that down, ladies and gentlemen. When you're being critical of other people, it's because deep down inside, without saying it or maybe not even being aware of it, you're comparing yourself to somebody else.
Yeah. And when you're being critical of somebody else, you're basically saying, I hate winning.
Mm. Tell us more
Right.
on that one. That was a good one.
So if I look at somebody else and their success and I'm like, yeah, they just got lucky or they're this or they're that, right? It's really me going, I'm going to stay at a lower level. So that way I can stay critical of somebody else
Oh,
versus
baby. Say that one again.
so I'm going to stay at a low level so I can be critical of somebody else instead of going, man, I really think that they really deserve that and they're going places and I want to imitate that. It's going, nope, I think I'm going to stay down here. So, then I can have all that cynicism that I want and all that critical, complaints of them that I want, and it's going to make me feel better.
Ladies and gentlemen, go get the book, The Brain Changer, available right now on Amazon. Get a copy. Chris's chapters in there, chapter 7. I'll tell you what, you're gonna be blessed. The Brain Changer. Nothing changes until you change your brain. Chris, you're an author now.
I
We'll land
know.
the ship with this, right? We'll land the plane with this. How does it feel to be a published author, brother? And not only that, you're not only a published author, but now you're in the Brain Changer, the makings of a millionaire mind branding behind you. How does it
Yeah.
feel, man? Just to be a published author, brother.
Man, I'm excited. I never thought that I would be a published author. Like in school, I hated reading. Like, it was one of the things I was like, I hate to read. But it's such a blessing, and it's so cool to be able to be like, yeah, I actually wrote that chapter, and it's out of my life lessons. So everything out of that chapter is everything I've learned through life, in a small synopsis. And every one of those chapters could probably be expounded even further, but it's just really cool. Like I said, just to get that win to be, all of a sudden now you're an author, and it's an amazing feeling.
I love it. If you have a time of adversity in your life, what's the scripture or the quote that you rely on when you're having just that challenging moment that day? What's a scripture or a quote that you rely on in a time of adversity?
Uh, Jeremiah, where he says, "All things work together for my good," and that verse is really really hard, right? Because it says all things. It doesn't say some things. It doesn't say only if they're good things, but it says all things, right? So anytime something happens that other people might look as bad, I'll say good, right? And Jocko Willink has an awesome podcast on that that says good. When things are going bad, good, I learned something. Good, right? The weather was bad, good, we have more time for training, right?
Yes.
So things that may be perceived as a bad thing, God always says he's going to make it good.
Amen. Brother, somebody wants to get a hold of you. They want to connect with you and work on their fitness, work on their training. How do they connect with you, Chris?
CerebralEdgePerformance.com is my website. Instagram handle is Cerebral Edge Performance. My number is 517-262-1426. I'd love to hear from you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll have all that in the show notes here for you. What an amazing episode. Thank you for being with us here this Christmas edition. Kris, you've been a big blessing. I love you, brother. Wanted to just, man, you have a lot of wisdom, and I can't wait till this episode ends for the first week for January, right? People need this wisdom in there. And like I said, Kris is a published author. Go out there, 14 amazing authors, myself, and just the brain changer, change your brain, change your results, and just out hot on the press. If you're right, if you needed more sales in 2024, go out there. Just released Sales Accelerator by myself, Daniel Gomez. I'll tell you what, I've sold over $500 million of products and services. Yes, you heard me right. Over $500 million with the B of products and services. And I let you know the secret sauce here in the book. Go get a copy in Amazon, and the Audible will be out here shortly. So go out there and get your copy. Until next week, Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year from DG Enterprises and our DG Publishing. We want to see you on stage and sharing your story, or we want to be your next. We want you to be our next published author. Until next week, Kris, thank you once again, my brother. We'll see you with another amazing guest like Kris here today. We love you, brother. God bless you, and happy holidays, everybody. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.